I didn't grow up with an N64, but Wave Race has become one of my personal favourite games on the system. It's always been my go-to when it comes to game nights, or as a test cartridge when I'm doing mods or repairs on the system. You should have seen my surprise then when I realised the series actually originated on the Game Boy. Developed by Pax Softnica and published by the big dogs at Nintendo themselves, North Americans were graced with its presence in 1992. Interestingly, however, Power Regions wouldn't see a release until later in 1997. This was after Wave Race 64's release in all regions. I guess they pulled it from the bargain bin for the sake of cross-promotion in Powerland. Also notable is the fact that this was Shigeru Miyamoto's first involvement in a Game Boy game, as he was producer for development. Obviously, he was knee-deep in the SNES during the early 90s, so this isn't so surprising, but noteworthy nonetheless. Enough history though. How does a game like Wave Race play and handle on the Game Boy? Believe it or not, Wave Race includes a story. I'm not sure if I can say the same for the N64 version. You're the one and only Slick Wilson. You're in the Bahamas for the US-based National Series competition, and you've got to be the best. That's it for the story. Wave Race is split between two modes, Circuit and Slalom. These are split between different classes of watercraft that get more powerful, but also more difficult to control. Upgraded classes unlock new courses and more laps, as you slowly but surely become the greatest jet skier ever. Let's start with the Circuit mode. Here, you race against 3 opponents around a range of courses that gradually increase in complexity. The better you place in a race, the more points you'll earn. The one with the most points at the end of the class wins, as you'd expect. I noticed straight away how fast Wave Race runs. There's no emphasis on realistic waves like in later games, so the craft whiz around like no one else's business. Steering is the most difficult function to master because, understandably, the handling is quite floaty. And at the same time, you can't brake. There is no button to brake at all, and I respect that. Instead, B accelerates while A enacts a turbo boost. Basically, both buttons make you go zoom. The boost is a finite resource that builds up as you race, so it's wise to use it on straights as you overtake your less than gnarly foes. There are also several pickups available throughout the levels to aid in being the most excellent. If you ride through an octopus, your boat will start flashing, and you can steal other boats' turbo fluids by smashing into them. Alternatively, the dolphin pickup will facilitate better handling, meaning you won't slip to the side as much. You'll also gain immunity to the course's obstacles. On that note, the courses are strewn with shallow areas that will slow you down, whirlpools that will throw you off course, and sections of current that will thrust you in a certain direction. These are coupled with jumping platforms and barriers of buoys to aid in flair of the course's navigation. The direction you travel is dictated by pylons and large arrows. You must navigate around the pylons, and successfully doing so changes the pylon from a blank square to a happy face. Nice. So don't try and cheat or the game will make you turn back. Otherwise, the arrows are well implemented as a visual indicator since the playfield view is so tight. I was rarely surprised about what was coming next. I also found the AI of the opponents to be quite good. They fight for their positions and will take turns aggressively, even attempting to knock you off course. But notably to me, they make mistakes just like you will. This is not something you usually see in races of this ilk, so props to the designers for not making the AI absolute racing gods. The other mode, Slalom, isn't exactly what I was expecting. Leaning more to the puzzle genre than racing, you're presented with a series of courses with sets of pylons that are boated through to earn points. Only one racer can score a point per pylon however, meaning it's a mad dash around the course to get to them first. It can take a bit of trial and error to figure out the best routes, but you'll want to break off from the pack and plan your journey. The courses are rarely open-ended, and you'll need to regularly utilise ramps to jump over walls of buoys. Puzzle-based racing isn't the type of gameplay I expect to see anywhere, even in the modern day. For me, it was the nicest surprise of the entire game. All progress between both modes is tracked by a battery save as well, which was another unexpected surprise. No password woes here. Wave Race also includes a multiplayer mode that can support up to 4 players. There's no split screen of course, instead all you'll need are 4 Game Boys, 4 copies of the game, 3 link cables, and a 4-player adapter. Easy. I'm playing this through the GameCube's Game Boy player, which seems to be adding some sort of colour mode, but here is what it looks like on real hardware. It does well, there's no ghosting, and the texturing of the graphics is distinct enough on the monochromatic screen that you can easily see what's going on. Although it would have been nice if your jet ski looked different to your opponents. This isn't an issue most of the time, but can get a bit confusing if everyone bunches up while taking steep corners and the like. And while the look of the courses is functional in design, they do all look exactly the same. The courses span many different locations like Rio, Sydney, Miami, and even Bali, but there is nothing that distinctly separates them. The cutscenes in between classes were nice though. Look how happy you've made him to be progressing to another class. Good work, champ. Although the game will alternatively mock you if you fail. There's even an annoying tune that plays if you do poorly in a race. It's basically going na 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 na, which I'm sure enticed rage in many that have played. Otherwise, there isn't too much to mention in the sound department. A few catchy tunes will play throughout the menus, but as you race, there is nothing to listen to except for engine and collision sounds. I would have enjoyed more music instead. Apart from Wave Race 64, there was Wave Race Blue Storm on the GameCube. That was released back in 2001 however, and since then, the series has largely been forgotten about by Nintendo. Aside from Nintendo renewing the Wave Race trademark in 2016, the only hope Wave Race fans had were remarks from Shinya Takahashi in a 2018 interview with Fandom. When the director of Wave Race 64 was asked about the franchise on the Switch, he was quoted as saying, "You may see that game again. We have been trying to make many games, and that may be one of them. I personally love Wave Race." This is going back a few years now, and is far from a confirmation of a new game, but at least those with the power have an interest. Maybe we will see a sequel one day.